Good morning all. It's another week of press briefing. Today we have the Minister of Agriculture who will provide you with some updates concerning the influx of Sargassum and what the Ministry of Agriculture is considering, what might be on the table to provide some relief where that issue is concerned. So without further ado, we have the Minister for Agriculture who will take some questions.
Good morning, media personnel. I'm sure you would have known or heard in the recent weeks the massive influx of Sargassum on our beaches. And this is not only a St. Lucia problem, but it's a problem in the region and many other parts of the world. It is cause for concern because it has implications on our tourism sector, because as you know, the beaches are used quite a bit for our tourists when they visit our country. It also has implications on health. And I'm sure you would know in the communities where the Sargassum gets onto the beach, the stench has been a major cause of concern for residents. And my constituency, as you all know, the Henry South, is one of those, as well as many of the other communities along the East Coast. I flew to St. Vincent 2 weeks ago, and I saw quite a bit of the Sargassum throughout the ocean. So this problem is not just a problem that you can go to the beach and say, we are going to clean and expect in the next 3 months, we will not have any Sargassum. It is like tons and tons of this resource waiting to get back to the shores even after you clean. But the Ministry of Agriculture has a plan. We had a task force established in recent years, and through the government and people of Japan, we were able to secure some funding through the UNDP to secure some pieces of equipment to assist us with addressing the problem. What I know is that some of these equipment, like a small tractor, a dump truck, and I was told also a boat. Those pieces of equipment are in the making to assist us with helping to address the problem. As I said earlier, there are benefits of the Sargassum. The fishers would tell you that there are some cases they would stop in close proximity to the Sargassum, and the catch would be a lot more for some of the fishes. So we are. It has a beneficial component to it, but I think the negative part of it is where it is causing serious unhappiness to residents, and we need to deal with it. I know recently, I think in the last 3 years, we did some work in terms of cleaning the beach in Miku, and I think as a government, we have to be concerned about the plight of the people, the concerns raised by persons, especially those persons who live in close proximity to the bay, and we are putting together a costing from Fisheries, or my ministry to be exact, and we are hoping that we can come forward to present something to the cabinet in terms of how we can address the problem in the short term. There must be some action taken to address it, because you see the build-up and the build-up as you go through the beaches, but what is most concerning to us is the stench. There are even some cases where persons would have said that their television sets are not functioning as a result of the stench and whatever comes with it. Farmers seem to think that it is going to be an advantage for them to use the Sargassum, but from what I've been told is that there are what we call heavy metals in the Sargassum that can have negative health impacts on our food. So it is something we have to be very cautious of. But as a Minister of Agriculture, I'm very concerned. And I do think in the short term, we will get some action taken to assist in addressing the problem.
You mentioned heavy metals in the Sargassum. Will that affect the fish?
I'm not sure for the fish, but I know for the foods, for the vegetables, because a lot of people use it and they think it's a very important resource for our farms, mulching, etc. But recent information has revealed that I can't remember the names of the two contaminants in there, but there are heavy metals that if we consume can have health implications.
So you're saying that we shouldn't use it?
Shouldn't?
We shouldn't use it?
Well, we should. I don't think I will not encourage our farmers to use it for our food, vegetable production. I would not.
I remember at one time we had a solution developing some form of fertilizer with the sargassum, so that would be.
Well, that is still ongoing, and from what I'm hearing, I'm in direct contact with the individual. We converse very often, and from what I'm gathering from him, there seem to be very good results in terms of production and yield using those products that he has developed from the Sargassum. As to the other aspects of it in terms of the safety and so on, I'm not sure, but I have seen very good results coming from farmers after or from using those products coming from the Sargassum. But I really wish we would have been able to identify some products that can be made from it, convert it into something that is sustainable, that is income generating. And just last year, the EU held a very big regional meeting in Grenada where we sat and we looked at lessons from other countries and what are some of the things that can be made out of it. We have not been able to come up with any sustainable venture that one would say, yes, that is the way to go, because we have tons and tons and tons of it. And I really wish some small cottage industry, some processing something project will come out of it. And one, it would be able to allow us to generate an income, create livelihoods, impact livelihoods for our people. But we have not gotten to that level. And just recently I was told that there is another meeting coming up to discuss it further for countries, especially in our region. And I'm hoping that not too long from now, we'll see something more sustainable happening to address the problem.
You spoke about it affecting the revenue, but obviously...
I'm not hearing you.
You spoke about how the seaweed affects the continent. Ronnie Bay, Pigeon Island, and Grizzly were heavily affected by it. Who would you say responsible for actually removing the seaweed?
Well, I know in the northern part where the hotels are, obviously, you would not want to know that your hotel is full to capacity. But when you look out, your visitors, your guests cannot utilize the beach. I mean, they come down to St. Lucia for that. And I know in some parts of the north, the hotel management, they are actually involved in actually doing the cleaning up of the beach. But it's really a problem that is not existing on the eastern side or the northern side, or it's all over St. Lucia. It's on all the beaches, but it's worse on the eastern part, obviously, where you have the Atlantic side. But I know the hotels are doing their own management, the cleanup as part of the management team, because obviously it's definitely going to have a serious impact on their guests.
So you say that they're responsible for their own...
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying I am aware that some of the hotels are presently doing the cleanup of the beaches.
Okay, but still, who's
Yes.
responsible for removing this?
I think it's a responsibility of all of us together. It cannot just be a government responsibility. It has to be all of us. But as we know, the government, people will point to the government and say, boy, you all have the money, do it. But it's a responsibility that all of us should understand. The guests, the owners of the hotels, the government, the Ministry of Agriculture. It's a problem that we all have to come together to address as a nation.
Minister, has it been detected what causes the sargassum to be washed ashore in that number? Have it been detected what causes sargassum? Because this is just a recent thing that we've been experiencing in the Caribbean. What has caused that to happen to the ocean?
Well, I don't know exactly what is happening. I'm very certain that something is happening in recent years, because we've never seen that massive buildup of sargassum. I mean, we've seen sargassum from, our early childhood, but it has been a massive release of this weed from the seabed, which is a cause of concern. I'm hearing with very little level of confirmation that it's climate change, but we believe something is happening, and that is the cause of it. But I cannot tell you exactly what the problem is, and many researchers are still trying to determine what is the cause. I mean, we know, as I said, it has existed, but not in those large quantities. But I do believe not too long from now, we will be able to get an idea as to the cause of this massive influx of the Sargassum.
And is there any impact on our coral reefs?
I am not too sure because it's actually, remember, it is settled on the bottom of the sea. And when it leaves there, it gets to the surface and it drifts to miles and miles away. I do not believe, I'm not sure. I want to be cautious, but I'm not too sure what impact in a negative way that it's having on our coral reefs. Because it remains floated for most of the time, except when it gets to the shore. It gets very close to the bottom of the ocean. But I do not know. I will find out and provide you that information at a later date.
Any other questions on Sargassum?
I just want just one question. So I know in the beginning, I'm not sure if you did mention a time frame as to, because I know, I mean, the fishermen did say that they're affected by it. The time frame in terms of the things you mentioned in the beginning, when they're going to come into effect.
Well, I'm hoping that it can happen as soon as possible. I am not in a position to say when because the finance minister is the one most suited to make that statement. But I do know the government will come together based on recommendations coming from the ministry to see how we can at least, do some work to help alleviate the problem. Yes.
Okay, Mr. Agriculture Minister, just two updates before you go. One on the Blue Ocean situation. You received support from the government to help get going again. Since they become operational again, have you received any updates? How has that assistance helped them to date?
Yes, very good question. And I'm sure you recall in 2021, Blue Ocean closed its doors. They suffered major challenges in terms of meeting the commitments, meeting payments to fishers for sale of the fish. There were also issues with high cost of electricity at Free, which is the facility in Castries, the facility in Denver, the facility in Viewfort. We had several meetings with the management of $2 million loan available to and for to deal with all the challenges. And I remember the asbestos roof was a problem. We replaced that. We improved the electricals. We made payments to Lucilec for some of the outstanding electricity costs. I know the facility is now open on a small scale, and we are hoping soon from now our fishers will continue to provide fish because the marketing facility was set up specifically for our fishers to sell fish and not for our fishers to be on the road all hours of day. I think the objective was to really assist our fishers, and we're hoping that soon from now our fishers will begin doing this service that our government has put in place for them.
Just changing topics one last time, so we know the Atlantic hurricane season is approaching. As Agriculture Minister, what kind of guidance and advice do you have for the farmers, who are always perpetually at risk?
Very good, and this is the time of the year our farmers are most vulnerable. It is even worse now with the impacts of climate change, and I'm sure every year one would anticipate that there will be some natural disaster, whether it's high rainfall, whether it's wind, whether it's a hurricane, whether it's tropical storms. But the good thing that we are going to do in the next few weeks for our farmers, especially our banana and plantain farmers, is that we are going to commence an insurance mechanism which is almost finalized with Grace Kennedy, where our banana and plantain farmers, to start with, will get coverage under an insurance program. We have $1 million EC that was set aside in this year's budget to begin this process. We know it's not going to cover the entire sector, but we are going to start with the most vulnerable sector, which is the banana and plantain farmers. And as you know, the impact strong winds will have on banana and plantain trees. So that is almost set to be launched in the next few weeks. And I'm hoping that will be some way of our farmers getting that level of confidence that if my plantation, if my investment is affected or impacted as a result of a natural disaster, I do not have to solely depend on the government for compensation, but we have an insurance package in place to assist. We want to extend it to all farmers, whether vegetable, whether banana, whether plantain, and also the entire sector in the long run. But what we anticipate from our farmers is that at some point you will have to be called to make a contribution, whether it's by way of your sales, a percentage of money coming from your sales, whether it's to the marketing board, whether it's to Marcy, whether it's to the hotels. But we would need everybody in the sector to make a contribution. So at the end of the day, we can have a comprehensive insurance policy or program to take care of our fishers, our livestock farmers, our agro-processors, our poultry producers, our banana farmers, our vegetable farmers, every single person in the sector. So the reliance on government every time after a hurricane to provide relief or support, our farmers will have a program, a mechanism by which to rely on to encourage them to continue in the agricultural activities.
If I'm not mistaken, that'll be the first time a government will embark.
First time. Well, we had wind crop that was in the 80s. That was just for bananas. But since then, this is the first time that we are going to have a program for farmers. And it's happening at the right time, at the beginning of the hurricane season, where we anticipate very often that we may have some natural disaster or system that can impact the sector in a negative way.
What's the status on the proposed development of a bond for the livestock that might be wandering across the roads on the highways and byways?
Just this morning, I got a call from an individual who was driving down the northern part into Fisheries. And really and truly, I want to make the statement, and I want to be bold to say that the government is not responsible for ensuring that residents are safe from our roads. A farmer who is a cattle owner, who is a livestock owner, it's his responsibility to ensure that his cattle does not move away from the pasture areas onto the road. But we know there have been many, many incidents in the past, and why would someone want somebody to lose his or her life driving to his home because of somebody's problem or cattle? But we've had a discussion, we've been having a discussion on the matter at the cabinet level. There is a constituency, which is the constituency of Fisheries North. That is where the problem is very, very, very visible. And just last week, we were able to identify an area of land in Viewfort, I think they call it Kokodan. And we are working with the cattle owners in this area. We had a meeting with a few of them already, and they have agreed to move their animals to the south to make this problem a thing of the past. I mean, it is just not a nice sight when you drive up and you get to Marcy and you see all those animals on the side of the road with sometimes an intention to just cross the road. I mean, this is life and property. You know, this is risk that our persons take, and I do not think that they have to go through this. And I'm calling on all those cattle owners to find a way, find a mechanism to at least put a fence around your pasture to avoid those animals going onto the road and posing a risk to person's life and property.
Yeah, Mr. Minister, just back on the insurance scheme. We know, like in our insurance schemes, there's the assessment period.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when you make the assessments, the calculations. And you mentioned an agency being responsible for this overall scheme. So would they be educated persons, let's say agriculture field officers, who would be involved in making these assessments, to provide compensation?
Well, the assessment has always been done by the agricultural officers. They know the farmers, they know the location, they have the knowledge and skills as to how to conduct the assessment. The insurance coverage that we're looking at, it is very possible that after a natural disaster, for instance, we will conduct what we call an evaluation, and an assessment of damage will be done. That will be submitted to the insurance. And what we suspect may happen is that the insurance company will provide the government with the funding for the funding to be distributed evenly or whatever, how it is done, calculated for the farmers. So it's not a case where the insurance that will be going directly to the farmers. I think the arrangement is from the insurance company, compensation to the government, and the government will do the distribution. But the information usually comes from the agricultural officers for the various regions.
So you say in this initial stage, the government would be providing that initial funding?
Yes, so the government has allocated in this budget $1 million, which is what we are using to start with the banana and plantain farmers.
So down the line you say?
We are going to bring in as many more farmers as possible until we cover the entire agricultural sector.
Then they would have to make a contribution.
That's right. Because it will not be sustainable for government to be paying it every year.
And what's the name of the agency? The name of the agency?
Grace
Kennedy.
Kennedy Insurance. Barbados?
No,
Jamaica, okay. Jamaica. But there's an office, sub-office based in Barbados. Yes.
Some members of the public have been complaining about the egg situation. Apparently, when they find eggs, some of the eggs are turning around. Some are big and some are small. What do you have to say about that?
Well, you see, one of the things I must say, for persons who didn't know, we are blessed to be self-sufficient in eggs. St. Lucia is blessed to be self-sufficient in eggs. And even human beings, you may see some people not looking so healthy, you have the autistic and so on. It is the same with animals, poultry. And sometimes maybe it's just because of a certain factors in the facility, maybe the system was not well controlled and there was probably more heat in one section of there are a range of reasons for it. But the end result is that it's an egg. And just like we have a small avocado, we have a medium-sized avocado, we have a large avocado, it's an avocado. And that is where you have the price system in place. My eggs, because they are small, I may sell them at $5 a dozen. But those eggs, because of their full size, I may sell them at... These things happen.
Yeah, but the problem is that you have the price. Well, I don't know the price of eggs, so I'm afraid I give them yours. It's mixed. So you have small ones, you have more small ones than big ones in the eggs, so that's what they're complaining about.
Well,
That's why they have price control for
if the supplier has more small eggs than big eggs, I don't expect him to put more big eggs in the box. So it's really a good question. It's a good question for sure. I mean, I'm not making a joke out of it. But St. Lucians, I know one thing about us. We pay, but we want value for our money. And I agree with them making those concerns, but I've heard it in the past. But I don't think it's something that has been going on for years. Sometimes it may happen a few times, maybe in a month or two or so. But I agree with them. They have a right to. But I wish I would be able to get that answer, that response directly from the poultry producers.
And there's also a video going around, we're not sure if it's from St. Lucia or not, but some guy was actually injecting a substance into coconuts. I don't know what it's about.
I saw the video. I got a call from NBC. I don't know if there are any NBC persons there.
This one right there.
You called me? Oh, you were the one who called me? Well, I got a call and they told me that they want me to make a statement because they saw somebody injecting coconuts. And I said, but I've not even seen the video. When I actually saw the video, up to now, I can't tell you what the person's objective is. But really and truly, any food that is available for human consumption, I do not believe, and I do not think it is correct or right for anybody to inject any substance into it that may cause harm or death. As to what the person was doing, I am not sure. I could tell from the size of the coconuts, they're very young. And if the coconut had gotten to a mature stage, it would have inside what we call a hard shell that no chemical would have been able to penetrate. But because of the size, I rather suspect the shell was still very immature, very fragile. And if it is any dangerous substance, it can have an effect on health. It can, but I don't know. I cannot verify or confirm whether it was in St. Lucia, whether it's in any rural part of St. Lucia. I cannot, but wherever it's happening, I do not think it should happen. And I would appeal to persons who are, or persons intending to do that, to put an end to it.
Just a quick question. So, in regards to that, the reduction of the food import bill, efforts to do that by 2025 have been at more, right? And is there any goal in mind?
Yes, right now we did not achieve our target of 25 by 2025 because there were a number of factors that caused it that we did not anticipate. So, for example, we did not anticipate that we were going to have COVID. And COVID was right at the start of that plan, which was I think the plan started in 2019 or so, 2020. And we had COVID, so that was a problem. We made very good strides. In some countries, we were able to achieve more than 15%. In some cases, we were not able to achieve more than 50% of that target. But what we have done as ministers of agriculture in CARICOM is to extend it from 2025 to 2030. As you have heard, the imposition of the 10% tariff on countries, especially countries like St. Lucia, considering our high food import bill, we are hoping that this 10% will not take effect because it will make things more difficult for our farmers, for the inputs, for the seeds and other things that they need. And it will increase cost of living in St. Lucia because we depend on a number of countries for our meats, our food, and a lot of the things that we consume here. And this is why our ministry, under the 7 crops program funded by the Taiwanese, we are targeting those 7 crops. We believe that we can make a drastic reduction in terms of imports. We have not achieved our targets as expected, and there are a number of factors, high cost of inputs and impacts of climate change, lack of insurance, a reduction or unavailability of farm labor. All these are major challenges in the sector. But we just finalized a food production plan that would help us in terms of establishing a short-term, medium and long-term planning to increase our food production and to reduce our food import bill. We are hoping that in the next few weeks we will begin providing some assistance to farmers under the 7 Crops program in terms of provision of seedlings, encouraging persons with whatever small space you have in your backyard to go into some production, or whether it's lettuce, whether it's tomato, whether it's cabbage. But we need to work together to enhance our food security and to ensure that we remain food secure. And the challenges that we face with regards to climate and other factors will allow us to continue to produce the foods that we can grow locally and reduce on the imports of same.
What will happen with the Roseau lands in that area when it was coming?
Well, 1,500 acres of that, I think, is going towards what we call a breakfast project, a climate adaptation project. We are going to use some of these areas to introduce a number of agricultural operations. At the Windburn building, we are going to establish a climate smart learning center and many other areas in agriculture. That project is a CDB project to the tune of 9.6 million EC dollars. We are in the third year. It's a 4-year project. It's supposed to end sometime in 2027. And we are hoping that those lands will be converted into more productive use under that project. Thank you very much.
All right. Yes, indeed. Well, at least my boss, Weave, all right, the Prime Minister will provide you with some updates and, of course, make himself available to your questions. So, without further ado.
Good morning. I hope the rain hasn't done too much to you, though. The weather has not been that.
Everybody, just give me a second. Sorry.
Okay. I just want to make 2 short announcements. From the 1st of June, the service charge on all price control items will be removed, which would lead to an immediate reduction in the cost of these goods once the cost does not increase from overseas. Let me go through that again. From the 1st of June, the 6.5% service charge on controlled items will be removed. It will not be charged. So this means that the cost of these control items should decrease by 6.5% if there is no increase in costs from the imported country. Here are a list of goods that are price controlled and which the price ought to go down by 6.5%. Baby foods, baby fruit juices, cement, cereals, cornflakes, cornmeal, oats, cheese, cheddar cut and wrapped, powdered chocolate cocoa, corned beef, wheat flour, garlic, margarine, mackerel, milk, evaporated, edible oil, onions, peas and beans, potatoes. Powdered soap, 400 grams or less, is decontrolled. Rice package, salt biscuits, sardines, etc. Tuna, toilet soap, toothpaste, all the agricultural products that are price controlled. I want to be clear. Those that are price controlled, the 6.5% service charge will be removed. Further, by the 1st of July, the VAT will be removed from several categories of products. We are discussing right now with the Chamber of Commerce, and the 12.5% VAT on several categories of products, mainly foodstuffs, will be removed, which would lead again to an immediate reduction in the cost, in the price to the consumer, once the cost has not increased from overseas. We have been getting excellent cooperation from the Chamber of Commerce. I want to thank them for their understanding. I want to also compliment the Minister of Commerce and the people in the Ministry of Commerce for their work. We are moving to cause the cost of living, what we have control over. It's very important that I make that point. What we have control over. We do not control the cost of these goods. What we have control over, we are moving to see if we can ease the cost for the consumer in this country. So I'll be keeping you informed. The Ministry of Commerce will be keeping you informed on the process as we go forward. But the 6.5% service charge will be removed immediately, and we ought to see that impact on the goods on the 1st of June. And again, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for their cooperation in this regard. Secondly, on Friday, we're going to be reopening reopening or opening the custody suites. The custody suites was demolished by the last government, and since that time, the police are holding cell for people when they get arrested. I'm pleased to tell you that the custody suites has been redone, remodeled, and I want to invite all of you to see what really is there. There was some issues in relation to supply chain issues. These have been resolved, and hopefully the police will have a functioning holding facility to help in the fight against crime. This morning, I authorized the purchase of bulletproof vests and special belts for the police. That order went out this morning, and hopefully every member of the Royal St. Lucia Police Force should have access to a bulletproof vest and a special belt, etc., for the armor, as requested by the Commissioner of Police. Also, on Friday, we're going to be delivering a prison escort vehicle, a specially prepared prison escort vehicle, so the transport of prisoners from the bodily institution into court would be more easily facilitated and safer. That vehicle is going to be handed over to the police force on Friday also. Your questions?
While obviously our government deals on revenue, right?
Your who?
The government we deal in revenue, but when so much taxes have been taken out, right? How do you intend to replace it? Because under VAT now, as you say, 6 point whatever percent is taken out. How do you intend? How does the government recover from it?
Well, as I said earlier in the budget, there is clear signs of expansion in the St. Lucian economy. Last week, I visited the Elia Hotel Enterprise, and in there were at least 500 people working. It's one of the a massive investment that people are working. So the economy is expanding. Secrets Hotel, that's going to be opened later this year. I think it's in July. And high up the road, there is the Grosley, the police headquarters, the Grosley Northern headquarters. Again, hundreds of people are working. Across the street, you go on the Pope site. There's a construction site there. The Republic Bank, they're building the headquarters. Their regional headquarters are being built in St. Lucia. People are working. So there is expansion in the St. Lucian economy. That is clear. Very soon, you'll see hundreds of workers on the Halls of Justice, which is going to start probably next month. Work will be there in earnest. So the economy, people are working, and this means that there's the multiplier effect comes into being. So this is why government can try to lose duties or lose income on these products. But basically, government is about people. And our government in particular is about people. And it's very important that the people can survive. So it's not only about figures and about macroeconomic figures, but it's about the people. And we heard the cries of the people. We heard the cries of the people as it relates to the cost of living. We heard the cries. And right now, government believes that we have the fiscal space to lose revenue so that we can cause the people of this country to have a better quality of of life as far as the cost of living is concerned.
So, how close are we to the opening of St. Joe?
I was not the author, but I saw a documentary on St. Joe's, and I was rather impressed. I can tell you so. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Prime Minister, on the question of the police equipment, just last week you spoke at the impacts about the effects of gun violence, crime, but also you mentioned the borders, the porous borders. So in terms of, the border patrol, like you mentioned the police escort, but what about the patrol, the police patrol? What steps could be taken to beef up that operation, because it's very crucial.
Well, as you know, 2 weeks ago I visited Martinique with the Commissioner of Police, and the discussion was basically on how do we control our borders. And we're working jointly with the French authorities and the Marines to see how we can make our borders less porous. But it's a fact that our borders are a cause of concern, particularly for the importation of weapons. But it's a joint intelligence effort that we rather keep private for now.
PM, I have POV, and I encounter persons on the streets who asks, how does the Prime Minister do it? How does he get those monies now to do the levels of investments we are doing right now? Especially, the government just paid debts to Martinique for over 20 years. We recently gave 20 million to OKEU. And it's like, what's happening? What are you doing that is causing St. Lucia to be able to give out and to handle the level of debt that you are doing right now?
All I can tell you is that if I had more, we'd do a lot more. We'd do a lot more if I had more. But I'm glad you brought a point about Martinique. That was significant because many St. Lucians go, they get healthcare in Martinique. I thought it was important to us. But not only Martinique, we paid local suppliers. There were suppliers that were owed here from COVID. There was one supplier who was owed from COVID times. And then we paid it. So we've been paying these debts. And we, as I said, we're finding that the economy is expanding. The investments is happening. Because you must understand that St. Lucia had no new investments for a very long time, And these things are a fact, the verifiable fact, as I always say. There was no new investment in this country from 2016, 2017. There's been no new investment. So the economy was not expanding. There was talk of investment. Just talk. If you see that the racetrack, the horse racing track, if you want to see it to be true, was the only investment in the country for the last 5 years. And it had 1 or 2 races. 2 races, you understand? That was the only real investment in the country. There were grandiose plans for investment. Nothing really happened, either before or after COVID. And I won't tell you further. The GPH construction work is going to start there very soon. You've seen the hoarding. I think work has started. So there are signs. Our economy is expanding basically because investment. There's an increase in investment, and that increase in investment is because of the stability of the country and because the country, as I said last week, is being run on consensus. The country is being run on discussion. The country is being run by everybody, being able to sit together. And I'm saying to you, I'm very pleased with the way the Chamber of Commerce has worked with us as far as the VAT and the cost of goods is concerned. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased also how the unions have been cooperating with us. And talking about unions, I wanted to tell you that 1,900 people are now going to be getting full employment. They're coming away from the contract and going to get employed full-time. In terms of full-time, in that there'll be no contracts. What that means is that they can go to a bank and get a loan. What that means, so we've transform their lives. Because these people only were able to get short-term loans, 2 years for the duration of the contracts, and these were high interest. Now they're going to be employed permanently. 1,900 people are going to be. That's a transformation into their lives, and the government is very proud because, as I said, for government it's about people. People. That's what government is all about.
Mr. Prime Minister, is there any truth to custody suites being vandalized?
I understand that some water tanks, some water pipe plumbing fittings were destroyed this morning. I understand it's the second time.
Any other questions?
Oh, yeah, so some people were questioning, from the first time you announced that you was bringing down the prices in terms of price control. How long is it going to last? Because you're doing it before elections. Is it going to last even after elections?
You know, sometimes it fascinates me, this talk about elections. You know, look at our history. Look at the things we began to do from our first year in government. And make a checklist. This government promises and this government delivers. We don't deliver for elections. Look at our history. Just chase it down. CXC, facility fees. Just have a look. It wasn't for elections. I can assure you that these things are for the development of the people of St. Lucia and not for elections. Elections are real. I said the last elections have consequences. We understand that. And as politicians, we all prepare for elections. But these are not for elections. These things are for people.
So, simple yes.
No, they are for people. They are to make people's lives better because they remain. I will assure you, if you're in government, it remain and going to be enhanced.
I think she was asking PM, is there a sunset for the suspension of the service charge?
Oh, that's what. No, it's not. That's not. Not as far as not when I'm Minister of Finance.
So service charge suspension and VAT suspension indefinitely?
Indefinitely, that's the right word. Indefinitely. Sorry, thanks. Indefinitely, yes, that's right. That's the right word.
Beyond the next election.
That's what I wanted you to say directly, and I just wanted you to say directly just for the thanks.
Sir, in election, it's always timing. It's timing. Now,
Why do you want to get in my head?
No. Well, I'm only asking a question. Election is about timing. We saw in 2016, we lost.
We lost. You say we lost. Okay. You showing your hand there, you know. I know you probably do that among your colleagues, but okay. We lost.
I didn't hear that.
Would you say this time around it's all about timing? Because the last time it was wrong timing. We blame on timing, but we see this time it have to be right.
I'll tell you what. When you are a government that has performed how we have performed, we're not afraid of elections. Because we have, you know, we have performed, the government has performed. The government has a rich record of performance.
In 2016,
So we cannot be afraid of elections. What we have to do, we have to continue on the path that we are going. We have to continue delivering to the people of the country. You can see it for yourself. Yes, where some people try to create a false reality, the reality is there. People can see for themselves. There are 1,000 people, young people, who've got a $5,000 grant to start their businesses. Now they're getting loans. These are real people. These are not people that you hear. These are real. These are people you touch. You understand? The teachers, the temporary teachers, who are going to get paid in August. These are real people. The 1,400 workers, 1,900 workers are going to get themselves full-time employment, real people. So we don't have to say what you're doing. You feel it. You see it for yourself. You go to grocery lane, you see that quarter has been built. You see it. You understand? These things are things that you, right now, they're working on 6 school buildings. Go to Anchipo, you'll see a school building being built. You'll see it being built. It's not an illusion. It's not, it could have been built, or we had planned to build it. It's there. Go and see it. And I challenge anybody. Look at our record. I challenge anybody. Look at our record. Look at the record of this government. Look at our record of performance and compare it. I challenge him. You know, so that's why you see the criticisms has got personal but the fact is, this government's vision has been revealed not in talk but in reality. Our vision is not a reality vision, you know. It's not something that you, according to Leonard Barry Felix, in AI. You understand? That's not what our vision is. Our vision is real. You can touch our vision. You can touch it. You can touch the 1,000 students who have got scholarships on our one university per household program. You can touch them. You can see them. They return in here. So our vision is a real vision. Our vision is not a vision of renderings and things that will never happen. Our vision is a real vision. A vision for the advancement of people. And you can see it. You can touch it. Of course, there are imperfections. I won't say we perfect. No one is perfect. There's no perfection. But what I'm saying to you is that the development and the work of this government is tangible. It can be touched. And you can ask people to go and see it and speak to the people who've benefited from this government's policies. Speak to them. They're there. They are real people. They're not people who imagine. They're not people who you show on a computer screen. They are real people. They are real people. These are the people who work now at the major investments in the country. They work there now. They go to work every day. They get a salary every day. They will not promise jobs. They have jobs. So it can't be said that they would have a job if that investment came. We never said we're going to be landing 800 jets on the airport. And we never said so. We said real things. And I'll tell you something. I make no apologies for reviewing the development of the Hewanorri International Airport. I make absolutely no apologies for that. I'm saying, in my good conscience, and in the conscience of the members of the cabinet, because it wasn't my own decision, and in the conscience of several consultants, we could not follow the model that was in place for HIA. And I make absolutely no apologies about that. I think, in my better judgment, and in the judgment of the members of the cabinet and consultants and experts, we could not pursue the path that was being charted for us for the Hewanorri International Airport. I make no bones about it. I'm saying to you, we are going to construct Hewanorri International Airport, the terminal building. We're going to. We are in the process of, but it's going to be done in a sustainable way. It's going to be done in an accountable way. Because you must understand the history of airports. Even airports in St. Lucia. You must remember A&M. So we seem to have short memories. Remember the confusion about A&M, etc. You remember all that confusion? Under this government, the airport construction is going to be transparent. It's going to be tendered. The people of the country will know exactly what the airport will cost them. The people of the country will know who are the contractors. The people of the country will know how the contractors are chosen. And the people of the country will know step by step how their money is being spent at the HIA terminal development. I can promise you that. And I make no apologies for not allowing the project to go how it was conceived. I make absolutely no apologies for that. It was not even my good conscience to allow it to pursue. But the largest infrastructural project in the country would go untendered. There will be no bill of quantities. There will be no cost. You construct and as you go. And I would allow the country to go down that track just for vanity. I make no apologies for it. And the people of St. Lucia will decide whether I was right or whether I was wrong.
Any other questions? I think we can leave it here. Prime Minister, thank you.
Miss, where do you work? Oh, you don't say anything?
That's it.
I can answer your question. I don't have any questions today.
You never ask any questions?
From time.
Who owns St. Lucia Times now?
Barbados today. Yeah.
Wow, so who wrote The Observer?